Good evening, everybody. How are you? This is Enrique Sanchez, director and founder of HLM. I'm right now speaking with Robert. He's one of my administrators from the group. And tonight's podcast is going to be his story on his shared vision with HLM. All right, Robert, so go ahead and introduce yourself.
My name is Robert Serrano, HLM member.
And
And
can you explain a little bit about your background, what you do for work, and that type of thing?
I'm a barber. I'm a barber. That's what I do for a living. I cut men's hair for a living.
Oh, okay, nice. So I would like to ask you, how did you discover HLM, and what brought you to HLM?
Well, I was online. I was on Facebook. I was looking for different groups to be part of. I mean, there's other groups on Facebook, but then it's different. And I don't know. I guess because when I was suspended from obviously suspended but cut off for 30 days not to be on Facebook, I got in contact with Ivan, and I guess he saw that I was already a member, but I was just somebody who was blogging in the beginning,
Mm-hmm.
and he I guess he linked me on, and he told me about it, and I gave it a lot of thought. That's what usually I got most of it from him.
Mm-hmm. And how would you describe HLM compared to other Hispanic groups that are out there?
Because other Hispanic groups may have their own ideas, they may have their own beliefs, they may have their own ideology which varies. Because you have other Hispanic groups that they'll bring in people, but they want certain particular people, or sometimes they'll use it as a front. And if they're not honest, they can be dangerous. So I don't want to. I don't want to put. I don't want to put. I don't want to join a group that only allows certain people, and then they seem nice in the beginning, but then as soon as you meet them, then they'll have you start doing certain things. Like for example, like you'll have people that call themselves a movement. They say Latin Kings, or sometimes you'll have MS-13, or sometimes you have other people that use. They'll probably make up a format or something like that on a group on Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
And they'll just use that as a front to recruit leaders. And sometimes they'll even want certain ethnicities or races that are part of certain groups.
Right,
So,
right, of course. I know that a lot of gangs they use social media like to recruit people because it's more incognito and it's easier to evade authorities. I understand where you're coming from. As you know, one of the reasons why I started HLM is because I feel that the Hispanic community is very invisible, and
yes,
it's been overtaken by Black Lives Matter and other movements, and it's like, we make 18% of the population, and we are pretty much invisible and everything. And what prompted me to form HLM is to get minority protection for Hispanics, at the same time to advance the Hispanic race through education, through health, and through outreach and through community building, which is right now that's something that the Hispanic community lacks is structure.
right, very true.
So let me ask you, as an administrator and being a member of HLM, what is your what are your aspirations? What is your vision that you feel that you could do for the Hispanic community and for the movement and for the group?
Show them that there's basically go to the community and talk to certain people about HLM and try to bring them along. And see, my vision is there's some Hispanic people where I live, like I showed you before. There's only like 66,000 people where I live,
Mm.
and we don't have too many Hispanic people. I mean, there's a sizable amount. I mean, 24. I mean, 14% is. I mean, it's not that. For the population that where I live at, it's sizable, but it's not big enough. And I just want to try to show them that there are other ways, because because you'll have some younger generations and some people who are already older, and many of them are in gangs, many of them are drugs, and some of them feel like that's the right way. And try to help them understand that there are other ways. There's school programs. There's, let's say, if they want to become part of a group, try to help them understand that they're not to give up. That they can still reach their goals and what they want to become, and try to build some type of sense of community. A sense of culture, a sense of honor. And don't get me wrong, I love this country in America, but this country, at the end of the day, America's not your blood, your people, your culture, the way you live is part of life. And it's just, I don't mean just to say, but mostly to spread enlightenment onto these people, because there's some Hispanic people that don't know their heritage, or they're being swindled or brainwashed and told, oh, mix outside the races and stuff like that, which is okay, but people should be able to try to do it on their own and not being told by society that you have to, in a ways like they're trying to whiten us out and try to make us pick make us pick an identity. Mm-hmm. Because other races in America already associate themselves with ethnicity and race. Like, for example, you have the blacks, you have the whites, you have the Asians, and you have the Middle Eastern. You understand? These people associate themselves with their race, not because they want to, but because you see these people coming from so many different places. They don't, you understand? Whatever prefix that we have here, whatever prefix we have here, they'll hold on to that. Mm-hmm. They use that, but they see Hispanic people don't identify, most of them don't identify themselves with color the same way everybody else does, and I feel like they're trying to force us to do that, and that's another enlightenment to the Hispanic people, which for them not to be ashamed of who they are, and not to and don't be afraid to assert themselves. So they understand that's one thing I want to try to help the Hispanic people do too. You know what I mean? Recreate their own identity within the races.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I feel that Hispanics, especially Hispanic Americans, is like they are forced to pick one side. It's like they're either forced to choose to be white if they look white, if they look black to choose black, and in many cases, if they don't look like neither, they pretty much are on their own. Like in many parts of the United States, particularly like in the Bible Belt states, like the Midwest and the South, it's very segregated. You don't really have a Hispanic population out there. It's like the population is very, very small. And over there, you really stand out. It's like if you don't fit in as being European American or African American, you're pretty much on your own. And
yes.
And in those areas, you have both groups that don't like Hispanics, because a lot of people don't realize that African Americans don't, not everybody, but a lot of them don't like Hispanic people either.
No, they don't. They don't. Even where I live, they don't tell you. They don't.
Mm-hmm. Hello.
They'll give you attitude and look at you a certain way, but they don't tell you. They don't tell it to you as simply as what you want to hear. Maybe like some white people, they'll do it subliminally and say something that you would have to pick up and learn and understand. Where sometimes where blacks is different. They'll just make up something. They'll make up any little excuse just to make you feel like, you know what I mean, you're taking up too much space. Or sometimes they'll try to feel like they were the original breadwinner today, the original breadwinner. Mm-hmm. And how they, you know what I mean, and because we're around and because we're growing, or sometimes they'll feel, oh, because you're Hispanic, you're getting treated what you're getting treated. You're getting treatment by the white man, and how can you understand it? How is that possible when we're the one when our image and our voice is invisible to these people? At least blacks and whites have lived here longer than a lot of Hispanic people, and it's like it's a love and hate relationship that they have amongst themselves, but there's some type of common ground. I don't see that common ground that they show that they bestow towards Hispanic people. Like maybe some Asians or some Middle Eastern people that have maybe similarities to us, but different, because even they're distinct from us. But they don't show that much hostility towards each other, because the Asians really pretty much try to stay to their own, not because they want to, but it keeps safe. But at the same time, they preserve their culture in their own way.
Right, and I think I've explained it to you in the last group chat that we had with our administrators that I explained about San Gabriel Valley, which is a county east of where I live. That all that area is Chinese,
Yes.
and in the last like 20 25 years, the demographic shifts have changed, and that area used to have a lot of Hispanic people, primarily like Mexicans and Central Americans, but over time a lot of the Chinese, wealthy Chinese came in and started buying property, and all that area became Chinese. But not only have they made that area prosperous and nice and clean, but like you say, they keep to themselves, not because they want to. They see it more as a survival mechanism because Asians are much smaller than Hispanic and black people in the States. And they feel that
Yeah.
if they keep a low profile and they just try to exceed everybody else in economics and in academics, that they will not be demonized or ostracized by the white people. Because think about it, white people don't like Asians too. Just to be clear. But the reason why they tolerate them over us is
They
because
tolerate.
they tolerate them over us is because they see them, okay, these people are educated, they have money, they're not causing trouble, they're not trying to take advantage of the system, etc., etc. So they kind of leave them alone, but it doesn't mean that they accept them. Tolerance and acceptance are two different things.
Exactly. Because when you accept somebody, you're part of their society. You tolerate them. You don't like them, but you keep them from a distance. But because they can always tax these people,
Hmm.
but they don't. Um, that's all for now. What were you going to say?
Yeah, I was going to say. So you feel that HLM is like an alternative to like other groups that are out there, and do you believe that HLM could transform the Hispanic community not only in the United States, but you think also in Latin America?
Well, I feel it can, but we need unity and cooperation. And I've tried other groups before, but I'm not. I don't learn as much as I want to. And you see, and some other Hispanic groups, they're trying to tell you to follow the rules, but I don't know how it's done, but you'll have some people that'll show on that'll go into the chat rooms and they'll start talking a certain way, acting a certain way, and they'll pick those people as their favorites over other Hispanic people who are really trying to keep their integrity and do the right thing and really trying to grow. So I feel like I'm not growing in those areas, and I need to grow in another area around people who are really serious. And I understand Hispanic and Latino is just a cultural. I won't say race because they don't identify with race, but
It's an
you'll have where
ethnicity.
it's an ethnicity, and see in other Latin American countries they don't use a Hispanic or Latino. They usually go by the racial preference where they come from. But even those people over there are not as racial. They usually go there by their nationality. But if you single-handedly you ask them how they envision themselves, some will say from Mestizo, some will say we're mulatto, some will say they're Sambo or black or Pardo, like in Brazil. It doesn't matter, but if we can if we can have some form of communication with these people outside HLM and try and use them to help strengthen what we have going on here, we can have some form. We can have some type of alliance, because I don't know. You'll have where there are some Hispanic people that live outside of who live outside of America, and yes, these people are going through a lot, but their integrity is intact. They're not trying to change for anybody, and some of them see Hispanic people here weak, and I see for not in all bad ways, but for good reason, because they live here long enough. they get comfortable, and then you say second. I won't say second generation, because some second generation Hispanic people close to their parents. I would say more like the grandchildren or the great grandchildren. They stay here for a while. After a while, they get they get watered down. They don't have the same ingenuity as their parents or their grandparents, and they start thinking and acting different. And because they don't know knowledge or they don't know their history or culture, someone else will come along and say that they're Hispanic. But then sometimes those people will have had their groups already established and infiltrated by people that tell them you got to give them this, and that, and this. It's just a lure. You ever seen any cartoons where, if not Tweety, sometimes they'll have like where they'll lure another, oh, here's a little food, here's a little cheese, but by the time you get to that, to the trap, like that. So we can use them. We can use them to strengthen. We can use them to strengthen us. I'm not trying to quote Fidel Castro, but when he was in the Sierra Leone Mountains, he had all the guns he needed, but he didn't have explosives. He didn't have. You understand? He wasn't from Costa Rica. He wasn't from any of these places. And so many of them probably didn't get along with him, but they found some type of common ground, and they helped each other out. One was in one country, another was in another country, but there was still some form of communication to help their movement or alliance keep moving, like a, you know what I mean, man? Like a.
Okay.
Like a,
So I wanted to ask you, Robert, since you've been part of HLM and you've been part of the weekly video chats and meetings and conferences, etc. Do you feel that you have learned a lot from HLM? Do you feel that it has been a positive experience for you? Do you think it's helped you in your life? How you treat people, how you view yourself? Do you think?
Yes, I've learned. Yes,
Okay.
I've learned a lot. And I
Okay.
should hear from other people in my community who are Hispanic, but some of them are not moving they're not all moving in the right direction. So when I come here, I learn about my favorite is when people talk about different stories, when they talk about different topics from different stories of different culture and who did this and who did that and how the people used to live. It kind of makes me feel like I wish we still had some of that going on in our time. Not that we're in school, but I feel like it's like when they say classes in session, you're sitting down, you listen to the teacher, and
Mm-hmm.
it feels like more than one person is a teacher. Sometimes I would like to hear one person at a time, listen to what they have to say, and then the next person after that. Because this way we'll all get something. But I've learned a lot from everyone.
That's good. That's good. And one thing that I have to say about HLM is that we are not a political organization. We keep out of politics. We do welcome people that have different political views, but we are not a political view. I mean, a political group, because I feel that politics separates people. At the same
Yes,
time, we are not a religious group. We're very secular. We have different religions that are represented, and also
yes,
I believe that we are also inclusive. We include everybody regardless of what they are or what they believe in, and that's the important thing. The thing that I strive with HLM is that I want to create unity regardless of national background, ethnic origin, political beliefs, etc. Because as a group, we can do a lot of change and we could be very impactful. And I believe that the only way we can do that is that we had to have unity, and we also have to invest in our communities. We have to build the community. It's like when I see Hispanic areas, I see that they lack so many resources. They lack schools, they lack books, they lack food pantries. There, I don't see anything. While I go outside of those areas that are like predominantly Asian or white or some other group, it's like those areas are well maintained. And
yes.
yeah, go ahead. I'm
And
sorry.
there's a town here. There's a city where I live. There's a city where I live. It's like 15 minutes northwest of Schenectady. I think it's in Fulton, Montgomery County. It's still the 518 area code area. It's still part of the capital district anyway. In that town, and in that town, like I think I told you guys that maybe yesterday.
Hmm.
80%, because I didn't get the chance to finish the rest because somebody else interrupted yesterday, but like 80% of the population in Amsterdam is like mostly like white, and then you'll have maybe another 24-25% of the population that are Hispanic. And most of the people in that town who are Hispanic are the Puerto Rican descent. I mean, they're Puerto Rican. You have some Puerto Ricans who weren't born in Puerto Rico, but most of the people that are there were born in Puerto Rico.
Mm-hmm.
They call it Amsterdam Rico because the people there, the people in Amsterdam Rico are Puerto Rican, and I guess the scenery, I guess the way it looks, kind of reminds them of back home, like living like I don't know, rolling plains and mountains, and the people who are born in the country of Puerto Rico don't really like to live too much in the cities. They like to live where it's quiet.
Right.
But I don't know what it is. I don't know if they're trying to fit in or because of the color of their skin, they feel they can integrate with the people there. But a lot of Puerto Ricans in Amsterdam try to act white. Not just typically, but their standard of living and the way and the sad thing is in the city of Amsterdam, there's barely anything. There's barely anything around. And the factories that used to be there, those factories, I guess the union back then used to help those people with their jobs. But the union kept costing so much money. When people started pulling out and leaving, the factory and whatever, whoever owned the factory, you move those jobs to China because in China they pay cheap. They pay
right.
People, you give them labor, but in China it's different. It's like whatever we give you, that's what you get. It's not like in the United States where you get a raise and you get and to get a raise in China, usually you have to be part of some special administrative. Like if some people they think if they want to do that, they would have to move somewhere to Hong Kong or something like that. And in mainland
right.
China, you're not whatever.
Or Taiwan.
And in Taiwan too. Yep. But besides the point, I don't want to get cut off of the topic.
Right.
But I just feel Hispanic people need to do a little bit more, and in the community that they live in, they're like run down and beat down and not buildings that are dilapidated, like it's sort of falling to the ground, and oftentimes these buildings were left behind from people who used to live in the neighborhood. So they don't really try to help the new minorities who are in the community unless they stick together to help themselves.
Right. Right, and that's the thing. Unfortunately, the Hispanic community has so many problems, not just economical but also social, that kind of prevents them from organizing. I remember a couple of years ago, I was in a yeshiva, which is a Jewish school, and I was speaking with these two gentlemen that were Jewish. I don't know if they said this out of ignorance or they forgot I was Hispanic because I don't really look it according to them. But I remember one conversation we were talking, and he had mentioned that Hispanic people, they don't value education because it's not part of their culture. You know, Hispanics would rather have a bunch of beer, porno, or whatever, but you will never see them with any books. Well, if you look at a Jewish home, it doesn't matter if they are living in a studio with rats or whatever. But I do have to say, you will find books of whatever from the floor all the way on top of the ceiling, and they're always studying, learning, and that really struck me because that's the stereotype that a lot of people have of Hispanic people. That is like, they don't value education, they don't care about education, they only care about getting drunk, getting wasted, trying to get laid, and that's about it. It's like they cannot see that a Hispanic can actually value education. It's like, that's like an oxymoron for them.
Those are lies because some of them, a lot of people, there's a lot of Hispanic people that go to college and go on into universities, and then when they graduate, they'll get hired for other jobs. It's just, for me, I feel because you have some Hispanic people that live where it's poor, have a lack of education, and sometimes many of them want to finish school, but sometimes they'll have the mothers and fathers and grandparents who can't speak English, and sometimes they'll have to drop out of school to help out their family, and they come back later on in life, and then when they try to go back to school later on in life, it's hard because they'll have a girlfriend or something like that who's who's basically pregnant, and
Mm-hmm.
but it's not always it's not always like that, because see where I live, there's some when you have poor white you have poor white people who just, you know what I mean, they live terribly. They speak English terribly. They can't speak English precisely. They, you know what I mean, they have bad genes. Their clothes are dirty. They're always getting into drugs and alcohol. But I guess because they're already white, because they have certain white privileges, it's rare that anybody will go around. And you'll have people that will say something about it. It's like, I don't know, white people have a stereotype. They have a stereotype for many different ethnicities, and they'll spread these stereotypes like wildfire. So when other people try to integrate or try to hang around Hispanic people, it's hard to do that if someone else has already spread rumors. And but don't get me wrong, there are some Hispanic people who epitomize, who are basically they're the epitome of how Hispanic people can be.
Right.
But that doesn't mean all of them are like that. Yes, you have Hispanic people who have like real big fat beer bellies, and many of them just sit around, like you said, they want to get laid, or they just want to, you know what I mean, or not try to go out and make a living, or not try to stress education, and because it's very important, but they're not, you know what I mean. But that doesn't mean all of them are not doing that. And you have other ethnicities that have been here longer. They're more established. So those are the ones that get the opportunities.
Right. And unfortunately, a trend that I see with a lot of Hispanics is that once they have an opportunity, they just leave. I don't see them trying to make their communities better. It's like you see a lot of Hispanics that have been able to get out of the barrio and to, you know, do things and go places. That's fine. I give them kudos. I commend them, but I don't see them giving back to the community or investing in the community. They've lived out the community. They have
Sometimes
taken
I
from the
think they're doing
community.
something like they'll have a park, and in that park they'll put together like raffle tickets or for food to drink or cheeseburgers, and that only lasts for that one day. But for me, when I think of contributing back, like try to help open up a business or after school program, or try to help other people get in their shoes, and some people don't want to do that. They figure because they're on top, they don't want to see anyone down low to be where they're at, because that's how their mentality works. Some people feel they've lived in the hood their whole life and it has done nothing for them. So they figure if they leave, they won't have to come back to the neighborhood. And some of them will intermarry with someone else, and they'll probably have a different mind frame and start thinking, acting, talking different. Even like with some Mexicans who hate their culture, their heritage, not because they want to, but because they're seen as undesirable or uneducated, can't speak English properly, or dirty, or live way below the poverty line. It kind of makes them feel ashamed. It kind of makes them feel like they're ugly people. So they figure maybe if I mix with another race and I have children after a few generations, they don't even want their children to speak Spanish. They don't even want their children to have Spanish in their last names. They don't even want their children eating food that Hispanic people eat. They kind of adopt that Anglo waspy lifestyle.
Right, right. That's very true. And unfortunately, in that aspect as well is also counterproductive, because it's like it doesn't matter how much one tries to pass as being white. You are never One is never going to be accepted as being part of the majority class. It's like people don't realize that race in America is not like race in other countries. Like, let me give you an example. Like when I went to Canada, which is north of of the country. Oh, oh, over there, I was considered white. I was not considered Hispanic. They didn't have that difference as they do here.
Because you're phenotype. Yeah, no, I would think maybe be like French or maybe blended with a Italian or something like that.
Hmm.
In Canada, as you were saying, they didn't see you as white.
No, they saw me as white. It's like they didn't have that separation on who's white. They only go by what you look like. If you can pass as white, you can pass as one of them. It's like they don't really have the extensions like here in the state that okay, here's a chart, and in this chart, if you don't fit in this chart, then you don't belong to one of us. You know, they don't have that in Canada. It's completely different. So
But
it's
then, but then, of course, Hispanic people could pick a certain ethnicity and to pick a certain race. Even when there are a lot of Hispanic people who don't even look, especially black or especially white, they're mixed, and you have a lot of mixed Hispanic people, whether they're aware of their mixed origin or not. They're forced to accept. You know what I mean? I don't know. Eventually, they get amalgamated to the white. They get amalgamated or annexed with the blacks. That's some form of hyper descent. Like the one drop rule, like a historic colloquial term.
mm,
You're just if you're white, if you can have 90, you can have 90, you have 94% white. If you're anywhere below 95%. You know what I mean? The white, you're not considered white. They just add you to the white. They just add you to with the blacks.
right.
Like,
And the interesting thing is that even though we don't have those rules enforced anymore, but they are still on the books. They are still on the books, and in many places, um,
because they have to,
it's
the brain,
enforced.
they don't have to know the aptly said or aptly put word because their mind's been engineered to think that way. They've had, you know what I mean? They teach it to their children, and the cycle continues.
Right. Well, we are at the end of our time, but before we leave, I wanted to do a brief Q&A. Is there any questions or final thoughts that you would like to add?
Yes.
So be my guest.
I just was wondering, I don't know, anybody else who's part of HLM, where do they see themselves where do they see themselves in 5 years? What are they trying to accomplish? And what do you expect, or what do you want more from its members? And how how strong do we want to become as a group?
Well, what I would like to do is that I would like to eventually evolve into a nonprofit organization. At the same
Say,
time, provide social services for low-income people. Also advocate for minority rights, legal rights as well. Also be an advocate for people that have been, discriminated against by the system, and at the same time establish chapters in their respective states. That's one of the reasons why I started HLM, because HLM is not just like a grassroots group that's just going to stay where it is. Eventually, once it gets more legitimacy and a bigger platform, I want to branch off into different chapters. Like we said in the last chat, I would like to have you, Louis, Ivan, and David branch out in your respective areas, because I can't be everywhere. Like I can only do so much where I'm at. Like I could do what I can here, but at the same time build a network. Kind of similar to how the overseas Chinese have the bamboo network, where they build cultural and economic links with each other and they help each other out. That is something that I think we need to do, and I think we can definitely get there in the next 5 years. It's not gonna be easy. It's gonna take a while, but I think with determination and discipline, we can definitely get there together.
I wonder, I know someday, no, because we have other people that live in different, like David lives in Pennsylvania. I think Louis lives in New York, right?
Yes,
Somewhere
I
else,
believe so.
Rochester.
Yes, correct.
He's not too far. I mean, he's not too far away from me. Neither is David. But someday I may meet up with them or talk to them and try to help out on how we can help each other out. Even though we're in our own individual, even though we're in our own respective state, we can help each other out in certain areas. So
Exactly. That's the whole purpose. The whole purpose is to help each other out and to look after each other. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you very much for your interview, Robert. Truly appreciate it. I am sorry that there was issues with Zoom. I don't know what's been going on. That Zoom has been acting weird. But the important thing is that I found a way, and I will definitely continue talking to you later, and I will upload the podcast as soon as I can.
There's a way. I'm glad we were able to speak to each other tonight.
Exactly. Have yourself a wonderful evening.
Well, you too.
Take care. Bye bye.